Hello everyone, and well, I don't really have a title for this. So I recently saw Spirited Away, and this is one of the scenes from Spirited Away, and I wanted to just recreate that. So this is somewhere towards the end when Chihiro, which is the heroine, she's traveling to Swamp Bottom by train, and this is one of the views you get from her window. If you haven't seen Spirited Away, you absolutely should. It's a fantastic movie, and I really liked it because it's really simple. But I also like making clouds a lot. So this has some very nice cloud structures. So which is why I decided to sort of remake that. So the scene itself is fairly simple. Like it's not like an overly complex scene. But I figured I could turn it into a simple enough training. So maybe people can learn something from it. This is not an intro series or anything, so you do need to have like a basic working knowledge of Houdini. It's nothing complicated either. The only complex thing would be the tree because it uses a little bit of L systems. But beyond that, everything else is pretty straightforward. Some of it is procedural. There's a little bit of dynamics involved. Let me just zoom in to the scene. So it's all sort of semi-procedural. Like I didn't really want to go too far with like a lot of referencing and stuff like that. So yeah, so you have the clothesline which uses a little bit of vellum. The house is sort of semi-procedural. The tree is semi-procedural as well because I started with L systems and then I used like the edit tool to just sort of shape it the way I wanted. And then the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Like this is just standard cloud tools, nothing fancy. So yeah, so I'm going to, I'll do the whole thing from scratch. The final rendering is Octane. I'm not covering any other render engine because I don't want to go through figuring out the volume shader for every single render engine. They're different for everything, so it doesn't make any sense. But you're more than welcome to sort of try it out in a different render engine if you like whatever you're using. Yeah, so let's get started. So I'm going to start off with the house, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so I'll just make a new scene, and then we'll start here. Okay, so the house is fairly straightforward. Okay, so we're going to start off. I'll just create a simple geometry, and I'll call it house. So we're going to start off with like a line tool, and I'll put it in the Z direction and in the middle. So I'll take the length, do copy parameter, paste relative reference, divided by -2. So it comes in the middle. And then let's take a transform, and this is the length of the house. Okay, and then I'll take another one, which is the width of the house. Okay, and then what I can do is, let's just take a sweep. And we'll put this in together. Okay, and then we'll need to rotate this. So there you go. So rotate this 90 degrees. And so this is the base of our house. Okay, let me just make this a little shorter. And then, so let's call this length and let's call it width. And then I'm going to take a poly extrude. And we need like 2 levels of poly extrude. Okay, so we'll take this, and then I'll select the top face and again take a poly extrude. And what I'll do here is I can just take the option called transform extruded front, and we'll press E, and I'll just scale it down. So that becomes your basic house. And then I can take the top faces and again do a poly extrude. Okay, just like extrude a little bit like that, and select the sides, like press middle click so it will select like the whole ring like that, and then again take a poly extrude and do like a slight bit like this. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's also give it a slight bit of a height here. Okay, so this is the basic house. Now maybe should be slightly shorter. Now let's do one thing. Now let's just make the window. Okay, so I'm going to take a box and I'm just going to make a window. Now what I'm going to do is we need 2 things. So the windows are going to be booleaned into the house. So I don't want to boolean the actual window because that will be complex geometry. So we create a simple box that will be the base for our boolean, and then we take the same box and we modify it and we'll just place it where we are doing the boolean. So I'm going to take this and make it about like that thick. Okay, like this is fairly rough. Like I'm going to scale it down later. Okay, so it's okay if the size is slightly bigger. And then let's take a transform here. So this will be my boolean. And then let's take an edit. Press T and like, squeeze it in. Yeah, okay. Then take a poly extrude and we'll give it a slight inset. And then another one, and this goes in. Then press tab and take an edge loop. So give it an edge loop at around half, so turn on edge percentage. So it comes at half the point. Okay, so we have so we added the edge loop. Then press 4, take this bottom one. We'll do a poly extrude again and just push it in like that. Okay, so this is our, basic window. What we can do is I can just come in here and maybe make it slightly smaller. Yeah. And then I can press, like 4 again. And scale it down a little bit. And then press Q and push it in. Okay, and then turn these into a group for material assignment. So I'm just going to call this window. Okay, and then I'll take another group. This will be for beveling. So I can just take this and we'll call this bevel, and I'll change this to edges, and we will turn on minimum edge angle. Yeah, okay. And then I can just take a poly bevel and pick up bevel and just do it really small. Yeah. And then we have our window group. So let's just reverse it and get the rest of it. So I'll take a group combine. So the reason I'm doing it after the bevel is because if you do it before the bevel, then the new faces that get generated, they don't get assigned any group at all. So you should do the reversing after the bevel. So we'll take window, or no, let's call it wood. Hold on, let's not call this window. Let's call it glass. Yeah. So we'll say, and let's call this window. So we'll call it window is not equal to glass. So there you go. So you get the rest. So this is good. And now let's just do like a basic boolean. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, this transform is not really necessary, but I'm just using it anyways. So let me just keep this to a side and we'll see how small we want it to be. Let's do one thing. Let's take a group here. I'm just going to group all of this and we'll call it boolean. And let's merge these together so I can just scale them. So I'm going to take a transform and scale it down to what you think should be like appropriate. And then we're going to split it again so that, so I think this is okay. And then also move it up. Yeah, press spacebar 4. So we know like exactly how small it should be. I think this is fine. Yeah, I think this is okay. Okay, and then move it up to where you think like the window should be cut. Okay, so I think this is an okay enough location. And then I can take a blast and separate them out again. So we'll take the blast here and we'll call this boolean and we'll do delete non-selected. Okay, and then Control C, Control V and delete selected. Now what I want to do is this baseline that we had, the length. Let's take a transform. We'll do a resample and give it, like 3 points. Yeah. And also it needs to be slightly smaller. Okay, so let's come to spacebar 4 and scale it down. And then take a copy transform. And so this is where like our window has already been moved up. Okay, so which is fine. So we'll just take this up to about here. We can adjust it later, like this is fine. So we'll keep it there. And what I want to do after this is I'm going to press 2. I'm going to select this point and we'll create a group out of it and we'll call it door, because that's where we want the door to be. And then I'll take another group combine. Yeah, I got a bird screaming outside. And I'll say windows is not equal to door. Okay, so we have the rest of the points. Okay, so let's see what we're getting. Okay, so we can do a copy to points and I'll take this. Sorry, Shift R. Yeah, there we go. So this is good. Let's just see where the house is. So we need to adjust a little bit. Okay, so yeah, keep that templated and keep this templated. Okay, so I can just take this and move it down a little bit. And over here as well, I think we should be slightly smaller. Yeah, I think this is good. So yeah, so as I said, like it's not fully procedural, it's like semi-procedural. And then we also want to move it forward, right? So let's take another transform here. Let's call this scale and let's call this move. Okay. Again, like if you want, you can do like a bounding box calculation. I don't particularly care right now. So I'm just going to come to 2 or 3. Yeah. And then just sort of, bring it in over here. So this is fine. But what we want to do with the copy is I want to take the copy to points and set this only to windows. So that's where the door will come in. So this is for boolean, and then we can just do Control C, Control V. And this is where the actual windows will be. Except let's do one thing. Let's take a transform. We'll move it slightly forward. So there you go. Okay, so now let's do a boolean. So I'm going to take one of these and move them down. And then we can just do a boolean subtract, and then we can just do a boolean. Yeah, so this is it. And then what you can do is you can just do a merge with the rest of it. So I can just take this and that, and there you go. You have your windows. And what you can also do is we can do a normal at the end of this and just give it like a face normal. So by face area, and 30 degrees should be good. Yeah, okay. What you can do is if you want to see it slightly better, we could probably try turning on ambient occlusion, see if that works. Yeah, but no, that only works if you have an environment light. So put it in environment light and see, there you go. So you'll get like ambient occlusion. Okay, so this is the basic design, okay, for the house. Like we have the basic stuff done. Next we'll make the door and then we'll make the roof tiles.